mates. This is Coach Ayet, and welcome to the Secure and Happy Lifestyle Podcast. Today, we will be celebrating life from planning. Okay, so there will be a lot of value add insights from our guests, and sakto sila sa category because this is under parenting and they are parent and daughter. So ang maganda dito, guys, maganda yung mga insights na ibibigay nila sa atin because it's happening real life. Kasi nobody can escape tax and death, diba? So when we hear estate planning, parang natatakot tayo, parang, diba, it's only for the old people. But let me tell you, hindi lang yan for the senior citizens, mga dual citizens natin, mga parents. But it's also important that we start as early as possible. Now, without further ado, I bring you Miss Naj and Atty. Nic Cabaneiro. Ayan. Welcome to our podcast.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, ayan. Guys, hindi nyo natatanong, si Naj kasi classmate ko back in MBA sa The Ateneo. Sa EGSB. Yes. And may mga similarity kaming tatlo because si attorney ay isang bedista. Ang aming better half ni Naj ay also bedan. So, hi sa mga bedista dyan. I hope that...
Animo, San Beda.
Yes, oo. Sana nakikinig sila, diba? And I'm sure maraming followers si Atty. Nic. So, attorney, maybe you can just give us a brief background. How did you start yung ganitong journey? What actually interests you? Why would you like to focus on estate planning?
Actually, ever since I'm a very religious person, and I always believe that we came into this world with nothing, and we will leave this world with nothing. And therefore, as we go along life, we accumulate properties. And we own our properties only while we're alive. That's given. In fact, the law is very clear. You are the owner of a property only while you're alive.
Correct.
But the moment that you are gone, you go along, but your property will be left behind. And under the law, this properties goes down to the heir by what we call succession.
Yan
Okay.
importante, succession
and
planning.
that is where estate planning is very important because some people may be obsessed of planning a vacation or planning to buy a car or other kinds of plan. But of course, with the COVID-19, all of a sudden, persons realize the fragility of life that any person, rich or old, young, or
regardless of what age.
Regardless of what age, you can go anytime. So it's very, very important that while alive, and I like that word while alive, because I always say that each time I wake up in the morning, it's a very big blessing because some other people have gone already. So in other words, time is gold, and while you're alive, then it's best that you already organized all of the things that you have, all of the things that you work hard during life to accumulate, so that if any point in time the Lord will call you, then at least everything is in order.
Tama.
So that all of these properties, yung maiiwan mo, ay hindi magiging reason na pagkaguluhan ng maiiwanan mo.
Exactly.
Okay.
Alam mo, sobrang relate ako dyan. May sasabihin ako sa inyo later, secret. Pero I'm so happy because, guys, hindi nyo na itatanong, medyo same yung aming industry, yung mga kwento, etc. Because we are also practicing accounting and tax. And tax is very, in high affinity with estate planning, di ba? Tama ba yun, attorney?
Yes.
Masyado silang related to each other.
Yes, very much related.
Yes. So, ang tanong ko naman kay Naj, ayan, si attorney ba? Nakapag-succession planning na sa iyo, di ba? Sige, kwento mo naman, how did you co-authored a book with him?
Actually, gusto ko lang muna i-share, no, yung parang regarding sa estate planning na akala nila it's only for the rich, di ba? Actually, lahat na nagtatrabaho, whether let's say sa government, pag sa government ka, pag nag-retire ka, may makukuha ka na pension, di ba, na retirement. So, kumbaga parang may monetary value yun. So, yun, magagamit mo yun pang estate, kasama na siya sa estate mo. Kung ikaw naman is a private company nag-work, ganun din naman. Meron ka pa rin makukuha, di ba? So, ang estate planning is very important. It's not only for the rich. It's for everyone
For
talaga.
everyone.
Kasi nga, yes, kasi hindi lang naman siya na para ay maka-save on taxes, which is one of the goals of estate planning. It's also to avoid conflict. Yun lang, yun lang yun.
No?
Oo. Actually, si Papa, sasabihin na, Papa, wala akong mapapamana sa inyo, kundi yung pag-aaral nyo, yung ganun. But si Papa, ano yan, may will. Parang may will lang yan.
That's good.
Nakaayos. Yeah, yung will lang.
Dapat tayo din, Naj, meron.
Yes. Oo, kasi kahit kahit nasabihin mo, ay, ang konti lang ng ko, hindi. Kailangan maayos lang. Mamaya may share ako about yung digital will naman na parang, di ba lahat tayo may mga social media accounts. Yes. Maganda rin na may mga password. Yung mga password, nakasulat na rin. Yung mga online banking natin nakasulat. So, ang main reason, yung going back to your question, na parang ano ang naging reason bakit nag-start kaming maggawa ng book about estate. Yes.
Ang galing yung dalawa eh.
Yun. Oo, actually, kasi di ba yung ibang kasi, yung before, parang pag sinabi estate planning, naku, ayoko yan, it's a hard subject because it's difficult to understand. Yeah. So sabi ko, why don't we come up, kasi nandiyan naman si Papa, so why don't we come up with a book na mas easy to understand? And tama-tama, during that time, in 2018, nagkaroon ng train law. So yung train law, it affects the estate tax. Nag-iba yung estate tax natin, no? Sinimplify yon. So yun ang main reason, sabi ko, Pops, gawa tayo ng book about na parang, yun lang, yung parang easy to understand. Kasi yung iba, parang natatakot pag estate planning. Ako, yoko niyan. At saka akala lang, pag mamamatay lang, no? Hindi siya ganon. Hindi ganon. Maraming
factors.
Marami siyang, yung scope ng estate planning, marami.
And
hindi
it's
lang
beneficial.
Siya,
it's beneficial.
yes.
It's not really for us to parang not discuss over dinner. Kasi kailangan siya eh. Especially if you guys are involved in business. Diba?
Yes.
Some people don't want to shy away from the knowledge of death. Parang is something morbid. Yun ang parating nakikita. I don't want to prepare a will kasi it's like parang bad omen na.
Pina-preempt mo ba?
Parang death
gano'n.
I don't want to stay planning. Lakas-lakas ko naman. Bata pa naman ako. I'm very
all the more. Kasi nakakaisip ka pa.
And little did I know, kaya pala ayaw nilang buksan yung topic na yan because they don't want to talk anything about that because something that's morbid. But
sad sila.
I wish really to emphasize to them that dying is something that is with you anytime, so you must be prepared.
Correct.
Yeah, it's kind of very bad if you are not prepared because you did not do a will.
Because of your fear.
The properties will be distributed in accordance with law. And when you look at the law, our laws are very gray, masyadong ambiguous ang law. And
balita ko, attorney balita ko, pro-men ang ating batas. Tama ba? Parang ganun eh.
Because
diba?
You always say only the laws of God is perfect. It is the laws coming from Congress. It's definitely imperfect. And you will see a lot of holes, a lot of gray areas. Kaya when it comes to laws and succession, it really would demand kung hindi ka proactive in doing your thing, like doing a will and organizing all of your properties while you are alive, then the law comes in. When the law comes in, since the law is gray, inevitably, pag nagkagulo yan, you will hire a lawyer.
Ay, oo. Gusto mo yan, attorney, di ba?
Yun. Kaya nga, speaking from experience, I have seen many cases that in inheritance cases, when the heirs quarrel, they hire a lawyer. Since they cannot pay the lawyer end up as the heir.
Ay, ganun?
Yes.
Because of the cost.
Yeah. So yan ang what
Teka nga, Naj, baka gusto ba mag-law tayong dalawa? Pwede pa. Naka-MBA na tayo eh.
Pwede pa.
Yes.
Ganda.
Yes. So yun kaya this has been my advocacy ever since because after all, I'm a person talaga each day I wake up in the morning, I think it's a very big blessing from the
Right.
Lord. So,
I
Lord,
agree.
give me another day, give me another day. Parati na lang ganon. So I want to relate to other persons who shy away from the knowledge of death to tell them that this, whether you shy away from it, don't think of it, it will come what may.
Anyway, right?
So in other words, while you are around, all of those your hard-earned properties that through the years you have been accumulating, then take care of it. Kaya nga sabi niyan, the first generation build the asset, the second generation spend the assets, the third generation has now assets left.
Sells the asset. They sell the asset.
Maganda yun eh. No? Ayun, naghihirap po. 24/7, trabaho ka. Then all of a sudden, second generation, very happy spending what you have built up. Ubus lahat yun. Pagdating ng third generation, nothing to spend anymore. Ubus lahat. Kasi,
I beg to disagree, sabi ni Naj. Kasi daw, second generation siya. And he is, enhancing the asset, diba? Naj?
Oh, yeah. Kaya dapat ngayon pa lang, i-protect mo na para yung children mo, hindi na nila ma-experience yung gano'n.
Yung book na sinulat namin,
yes, talk about it.
Yung una is Living to Living, is actually all a repository of all the things that you must do everything while you are alive. And if that happens anytime, then everything is in order. Yun naman pinaka-practical yung life after. What if you do not die and you live up to 80, up to 90, up to what happened to you? Ayun naman yung life after. Kaya in tandem yung 2 libro na yun eh. In tandem.
Oh guys ha, dapat parehong books kasama. You know why? Kasi nandoon talaga yung steps eh. Tama ba, Attorney Naj? Andoon din, ano? Andoon. So meron ditong question. Ang sabi lang nila, since we are talking about estate planning, etc., how do you legally avoid estate tax through estate planning? Avoid talaga yung word, no?
Avoid.
So, oo.
Siguro avoid minimize. Tax avoider.
Siguro minimize.
Si Papa makakasagot
yan. Sige.
How do you avoid?
Hindi po avoid nga. Dapat, dapat minimize.
Minimize.
Minimize. Ano dapat ang word?
How do you avoid taxes? Ang question niya.
How do you legally avoid estate tax?
Yan, correct.
Through estate planning.
You don't avoid estate planning actually because it's something that is very, very important in life.
What about estate tax daw, Attorney?
Estate tax. Kung estate tax, the Supreme Court has said that it's perfectly the legitimate right of the taxpayer to avoid tax as long as he adopt legal means.
Yun ang maganda. Magandang phrase yun. Oo.
In fact, that has been my practice in life 40 years. Since 40 years ago, I avoid tax and I do not go to jail for the simple reason that why can I avoid tax? Because our tax laws are very gray. It is susceptible of many interpretations. The BIR is correct. The taxpayer is also correct. So when it comes to that deadlock situation, it's only the court who can solve.
Right.
And the Supreme Court has a case that if you commit an error and interpretation of the law, and because of that you did not pay the right amount of tax, you do not go to jail. You are just exposed to civil liability.
Yeah.
Because, there is that rule that our laws are gray and misinterpretation could happen. And the Supreme Court recognized the presence of honest mistake. If you commit a mistake, and that's not tax evasion, that's tax avoidance. Yeah. Now, tax evasion is when you cheat the government. You deliberately use means in order to cheat the government.
Illegally.
That is illegal. In fact, that is stealing because even the Lord prohibits that if you evade tax. Yun ang what. And our book contains that, especially in Living to Living, all the tools on how to legally avoid tax.
Ayun! Living to living. Living to living. Okay. Yeah. Ito naman, ito yung follow-up question naman ni friend.
Ni friend.
How to create an effective estate plan to avoid burden on the heirs and beneficiaries. And I think mention mo na to, Naj, regarding the will. You did also mention about digital will. Can you expound on that? Okay.
Sige. First and foremost, para 'di ba, yung unang step talaga is maganda sana if you have an asset inventory. Yung parang, syempre, i-list mo muna. Yun, isa yung sa important, i-list mo muna ano ba ang meron ka. Pag ano ba yung isasama ko doon? Yung anything, any asset, no, any property that has monetary value. Yun yung bawal,
mga
let's
antique. Mga antique mo.
Oo, yung mga, let's say, magsimula tayo yung properties, di ba?
Yes.
What else? Yung
jewelry.
mga cars, jewelry. Although kasi yung jewelry, parang personal property yan. So parang yan, mas madali na yan i-transfer, di ba? Ang mas mahirap i-transfer yung mga titles. Oo, kasi talagang iaano mo. Pero yung nakalista yun, actually yun, ang tingin ko kasi sa jewelry, although pwede mo siyang isanla, di ba? Pwede mo siyang isanla, ipon. Pero parang for me, parang more of siya yung personal siya.
Personal,
parang
mga heirlooms, mga gano'n.
Yung mga ganun, mga painting, diba?
Yes.
But first and foremost, it's important to understand your current financial situation. Yun nga, and by having an asset inventory, so kita mo doon, ano ba yung i-list mo, kung ano yung mga assets mo, pati yung mga insurance mo. Yes, so that you will have yes, yan. So, yung savings account, yung ganyan. Para alam mo, ito yung amount na meron ako. Diba?
Correct.
Para alam mo rin pag bumili ka ng insurance, kung gaano ka, diba? Yung how much yung dapat
mong bilhin.
Yes,
I agree.
diba?
Tama ka
so
dyan.
Dapat, yan important yan, no? Ano pa nga ba yung ibang...
Apart from asset inventory, what's next? Do we write the will na?
Yes, actually, ang meron natin ngayon is dalawa, no? Yung holographic at saka yung notarial will. But the notarial will kasi, it requires a lawyer na, and it requires parang yung notary public.
Probate in court? Yun ba yun?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, yung sa holographic will din, pag may kinag-contest, check din kung signature ba talaga yun. Kasi diba,
mahilig mga forgery, diba?
Yes. Kasi
pero ang thumbmark, pag thumbmark, pwede na yun? Pwede na ba yun? Kunyari, hindi na talaga makapirma?
Oo, alam ko pwede yun, ina-accept yun eh. Di ba, Paps? Ina-accept yun.
Kailangan pag thumbmark, there must be parang witness.
A witness. How many witness do we,
Usually two, at least two. Pero during this time of COVID-19, it's more advisable to do a holographic will, because a holographic will is one that is easily written because it's entirely written, dated, and signed by the state himself.
Paano kung hindi na maka-write? Ay, sabi niya, parang na-realize niya, pa-sunset na pala ako. Mahirap na ako mag-write. Ang dami kong asset. Paano yan?
Kailangan substantiated ng witness talaga. Kasi when it comes to probate and then i-establish nila yung authenticity of the signature, then the court would rely on the witness. Yung credibility ng witness na talagang ito maasahan talaga. So it depends on the probate court to decide on the genuineness of the authenticity of that signature.
Ito na yung secret ko. So merong case na ang notaryo dapat dinadala dun sa testator. Especially if the testator is, you cannot leave the house or senior kasi nga COVID ngayon. Tama po ba yun? Paano kapag hindi nakaharap sa notaryo?
Yan ang medyo alam mo, I have read from the US kasi in this time of COVID-19, virtual notarization is allowed.
Zoom, pwede na.
In some states in the US.
Sa US.
But in the Philippines, I don't know because under our laws, it's personal appearance.
I know, right? Dapat naka-face shield na lang.
Yun. Parang hindi pwede yung virtual na gano'n na ina-allow because unless Congress comes out with a law that says that will be allowed, we'll stick in with the present law that is in.
And that's under the premise na COVID. Pero paano kapag di COVID? Dapat talaga nakikita sila. Dapat nakaupo. Ayun. So that's secret number 1. Anyway, so ito, meron mang question. Sorry, Naj. Please continue on the digital will.
Actually, pero di ba Paps, tama ako, dalawa lang ang talagang ina-accept na yun. Parang supporting lang siya. Yung parang to ano lang, kasi nauso nga yung binivideo na, di ba? Yung habang gumagawa, while you are writing the will, parang binivideohan ka para talagang alam na ikaw talaga yung nag-execute. Ikaw talaga yung
pwede ba yung pinapasulat niya na lang? Kasi
pero I want to explain that yet, no? Because in fact, a certain congressman have proposed a bill in Congress to approve a video will. But unfortunately, that bill did not pass through. So as of the moment, we should stick in with the present situation that in order for the will to be valid, it must be personally attested by the witnesses, and the notary should also be personally present.
So, sinusulat niya o nakasulat na siya, binabasa na lang niya just to review kasi marami na siyang mga nawala.
Kaya pag notarial will, it necessitates the presence of 3 instrumental witnesses to attest to the fact that the signatory is the one who signed the will.
Yes, and dapat talaga buhay ang testator. Mahirap naman yung will tapos, di ba? Di kasi ba nangyayari yun?
Saka yung notarial will, notarize yun eh. The moment it's being notarized by a notary public,
binubuk din.
The notary public attests to the fact, and that is under oath, that the one signing is the one who is the real person himself and person present there.
Kaya dapat face-to-face. Guys, bawal yung digital. Wala pa doon. Wala pa tayo doon.
Wala pa tayo sa digital. Ngayon, in some instance, I had an experience of a very rich client that, you know, a notarial will, and during the signing, aside from the presence of 3 instrumental witnesses, he has cameraman and video taking of that. Now they were asking me, attorney, if and when it goes to court, what is at least
is it material?
At least
parang
that video could only substantiate the fact that the person signing is the person, but by itself, it is not admissible as something that makes the law valid. Kasi
wala for record keeping lang.
Parang lang, additional evidence lang. But ang pinaka-material pa rin doon is the person signing and
the notary.
The witness.
The notary.
And the witnesses.
And the witnesses.
Yun pa rin.
So Naj, sige, continue mo yung ano.
Yung more lang yung sa digital will, kasi diba parang nagre-research, kasi tayo lang ngayon, parang siguro more of ano lang siya, parang mas madali lang para sa mga heirs, yung mapag-iiwanan. Let's say, kung makikita
nasa ibang bansa.
Oo, para alam na nila, let's say, pag sa online banking, access. Diba? Parang alam na nila, o kaya kung saan nakalagay, diba? Kung saan nakalagay yung mga
nakatago, naka-US dito.
O kahit yung mga kahit yung mga email, kung ano lang naman, no? Kasi minsan nandun din yung ibang mga important information. So at least nakatago lang yung name and yung password, username. Yes. Kaya yun lang yung more of nagiging popular lang siya ngayon na parang may gumagawa na rin ngayon kasi it's parang hindi mahirapan yung hindi mahirapan
yung testator.
Yung mga heirs, beneficiaries.
Saka that is also in line with the presence high technology nowadays eh. Kaya para bang you can avail of so many
convenient
emails and everything. Kasi madali matrace kung saan. Kasi basic in estate planning are the property composition eh. Where are those properties? So in other words,
hindi mahanap.
Some of the heirs are outside of the country.
Right.
That would be like a digital thing.
O kanyari, na-lock in na dun sa certain country because it's good, di ba?
Yes. So, at least, because it's very important to have an idea of the whole property composition of the person who died.
Right.
And then the family composition. Para at least alam natin yung dalawa. Kung meron mga information then at least they will be able to gather everything to have a solid inventory of the property.
Yes.
That's
yung
good.
Estate,
yung estate. Dapat kompleto guys. Sabi, recap ko lang sabi ni Naj, have an asset inventory and write a will. Wag na matakot, 'di ba? Kasi once you have those, it's easy na to. Pwede naman ng taglish, 'di ba? Sa will.
Oo, kahit ano.
Basta ikaw ang sumulat.
Hindi, saka ka-importante nung will is the fact that the will already is very clear as to where the property will go. Everything is clear, who is the executor, everything. Now, if you don't write a will, ang tawag mo dyan is you do nothing attitude. Do nothing attitude. You let the law come into play and let the law take over the transfer of the property. So, and the law takes over,
Mas magastos yun.
Property goes anywhere, siyempre.
Exactly. Kaya nga real estate, natandaan ko yan pag real estate, babalik sa government. Tama, di ba? Ayan. Pag hindi ka nag-prepare. Tama. So, siguro, I'll also check pa the other questions here. But while you're at it, sabi nga dito ay, ano yung most complicated case na na-handle mo, attorney? Talagang natutot ka na magmula ng bata, hindi mo talaga makalimutan the moment that you are starting to practice law.
Yeah,
sige, share mo.
Yeah, I handled, of course, I can, it's anonymous, I will not say.
Of course.
Just
the kwento.
A very rich family from, I can name the place, Nueva Ecija. Okay. So in other words, this really is a situation where while the parents are alive, they are already quarreling with each other because
hindi sila magkasundo.
Because they money talaga. It's a
high net.
High net talaga, all kinds of business they have. And they hired me to be able to come out with something because the owner is a bit worried that if they pass away, there will be a quarrel, no?
Yeah.
So the idea is, I have to stay there for 2 or 3 days, and we talk about and talk to the heirs, and of course, I endeavored to find a way because in times past I also do collective bargaining agreement with the union, so that I can do some negotiation on how the heirs would be somehow. Of course, communication is very important. And since they believe a lawyer, somehow, bottom line, I was able to appease and come out with para bang it's a trade-off of if you want this, meron pang it came to a situation that if you are really going about this very important painting, then let's just draw lots so that you'll be, to whom it will go, then is the luck God.
Right.
And it's much better to do that while the parents are still alive because of moral ascendancy. Because the parents are still there. Correct. Imagine if they die and they are left to themselves, then they will be, it's a big quarrel.
Exactly. Hindi matatapos yung squabble na yan.
Hindi matatapos. Yeah. But since it was very opportune time that I came into the picture when the parents are there and they are still in control of their senses, and since somehow they believe a lawyer, a state planner, and somehow I came about in a way on how to settle their discrepancies. Somehow nakakuha ko ng mga trade-offs among there, and I explained the legal situation, and plus the moral ascendancy of the parents. Somehow I was able to come out with a solution. Of course, I
that
prayed.
Is agreeable to them.
Of course, before that, I prayed to the Lord.
Of course. Naku, mahirap siyang case, di ba?
Because this is a big family, and unless you guide me, I will not be able to convince all of these people. But lo and behold, after 3 days, I was able to solve that and come out with a will. And everything went out okay. And the parents are very, very thankful of me, what I've done.
That's nice.
I can remember.
Okay. Pero how young were you when you had that case?
That was about three or I'm already retired from BPI. That must be about 4 years ago. Wait.
Okay. Pero yung nung younger years mo, may mga mahihirap ka din na case. But that was the most memorable case.
I encountered, of course, when during my stay at the bank, because I handle the legal department in the bank, in BPI, in the bank. And whenever there are problems about clients, trust clients, then I'll be able to. That was the first time I embarked on my practice of estate planning because, in trust, it's very common that the heirs would always quarrel because it involves big money.
Ito ang tanong ko sa inyong dalawa. Naj, kapag meron ka bang hinihingi kay daddy mo, nananalo ka ba? Kasi magaling siya talaga sa negotiation eh. Diba? Diba?
Hindi. Hindi mabait yan si Paps.
So
pag nagre-request, na-explain niya.
I'm sure na natuto ka ng sobra sa kanya. And I'm happy to know na yun nga si attorney, medyo yung ginagawa niya, you kind of nag-interest ka din doon sa ginagawa niya, which is good.
Yes. Kasi
I just want to say, since I have conducted so many estate planning forums already, it's really my advocacy to bring home sa mga audiences ko, ka-importante na itong estate planning. Kasi you will see a family here working, accumulating properties,
Right.
and they are unmindful of the fact that any point in time, they can go. So,
Right.
yun ang parating sinasabi ko, that be aware of the fact that the most important time of your life is while alive. Do it now. Don't
Just
delay.
do it, di ba?
Tama.
Tama.
Don't procrastinate because tomorrow is another day. You don't know what will happen
At saka
tomorrow.
hindi mo alam kung yung excitement mo to do the will, may okay pa rin tomorrow. Siguro ang question ko is how frequent or periodically do you review? Say for example, you have your wealth already stated in the will, tapos yung mga accumulation of your wealth, tapos na asset inventory mo na siya. How frequent do you suggest or yung periodically?
Usually in update yan. Usually when you have estate plan already,
6 months.
The most reasonable you update it every 2 or 3 years. Kanyan. Because siyempre may mga changes eh. Yung values ng property nagbabago.
Zonal, nagbabago.
At siyempre may binenta kang property or another heir comes into being. Pwede. Kaya sometimes I always advocate a holographic will because a holographic will is much easier and very flexible.
So meron na si Attorney Naj.
Unlike,
Nakaano.
of course.
Oo, dapat ikaw din, Naj.
Of course,
actually, matatawa ka ako meron na rin kahit na wala naman masyadong
diba?
But ako actually, ang ano ko dyan, di ba, yung 2 to 3 years, siguro pag bumili ka ng major asset, yung medyo malaking asset, ilagay mo na rin siya kaagad. So, yung pag meron.
Big purchase.
Yeah.
At saka yung sabi nga ni Attorney, yung parang kapag may new heir, biglang nagka-baby, diba?
Yeah.
Kaya,
you need to update. You need to update naman talaga.
Parang life milestones also. It depends on your life milestones. And it depends per family. Pag sa business naman, usually, pag sa business, how frequently naman do you suggest?
Alin, how to...
Yung how frequently pag sa business. Kasi sa family usually, di ba? But there are also families who actually have a business and yung succession planning, wish nila, diba? The anak will take over.
Yeah, I do that also. I lecture also on business succession.
Yes,
because on business succession, in the Philippines, 30% of all businesses does not go beyond third generation. Because,
oo nga, napapansin ko rin yan.
Because nangyayari, whenever in case of business succession, it's very important that this is what we call business, parang may mentoring ba for the one down, for the next generation.
The family constitution, di ba?
Yes,
usually in place.
Yeah, saka very important, lalo na kung meron kang business, very important yung mga anak mo na nasa high school pa lang, glide them to the business, parang ino-OJ.
Bini-brainwash mo na. Baka nakikinig yung mga anak ko ngayon. Anyway, tama naman yon, you guide them. Tama, discover your, sabi nga doon sa isang episode, discover your strengths. And maybe if there is open communication between the parent and the child, you are able to guide them using the strength that you discovered. Para, di ba? Para medyo align din yung objective. Especially if you're planning for succession.
Yes.
There was also one case wherein ang sinabi ng parent, may business yung parent, and sabi niya, 95% ako, ang mga anak ko, tagwa 1%. Sabi ko, ay, asan ang wife? So sabi, edi syempre yung 95, pag nawala ako, lahat naman yun sa wife ko. So sabi niya, so sure po kayo 1% per anak? Yes, because I want them to value yung pinaghirapan ko. If they don't see the value in what I do, 1% lang mawawala. Majority pa rin ako. And I think it's important. Another thing is, kailangan yung degree that nakasulat sa family constitution depends on the business that your family runs.
That's correct.
That's have to be what you call aligned para kapag nag-succeed sila, hindi din sila hirap. Diba? Pag hindi, tanggal ba sa mana, attorney? Depende na rin. Depende na rin.
Importante talaga yung mentoring at saka yung i-guide mo sila sa business. Parang makita nila parang let them appreciate what you're doing para at least ganun pala ginagawa ni Daddy, ipasok mo siya doon para at least somehow kahit high school pa lang yan, as they
may
grow,
awareness na.
May awareness na nila sa business na yan para madaling mag-take over just in case, para may interest din.
Tama. Ito tanungin ko si Naj. Si Papa mo ba? Si Pops? Yan.
Si Pops.
Oo nga. Gusto mo ba yung ginagawa niya na nagpupuyat siya? Di ba pag attorney on call, okay, parang ganun, di ba? Parang doktor. Tama. Pero nagustuhan mo yon. Nagustuhan mo kasi lumilinya ka.
Actually, nako si Pops, hindi ko talaga hindi ko ma-achieve yung niya. Talagang ang tingin ko sa kanya, talagang idol ko talaga yan, lalo na sa pagpe-present. Sabi ko nga, ina-explain ko sa nanay ko ata ako nagmana sa pagpe-present. Kasi siya, ang galing-galing niya basta parang siya mag-present.
Attorney, articulate talaga.
Yes, yes. But na-inspire ako dun sa advocacy niya. Yun, parang nag-agree ako dun sa advocacy niya. Kaya yun ang inano ko, parang finalo ko.
Yun naman ang aking guideline lang sa buhay. Since the Lord gave me a talent, at that talent, sabi ni Lord, you share it with others.
Tama, replicate yourself.
Okay, because if you keep it with yourself, I just take it from you.
Kaya ayaw natin nun.
Kaya nga kahit sa mga estudyante ko sa school,
sa San Beda po, tama po.
I always am very enamored with my teaching kasi parang na-share ko sa kanila yung talent na binigay sa akin ni Lord. To the point that if I see some of my students already in the Supreme Court. So parang natutuwa ako. I always say that, well, somehow, I calibrate the success of a professor when a student rises higher than the professor because I was able to share my talent to them.
Yun ang success talaga. If you are a professor, when your students
exceeds your
tama yun. Ay nako, hi students. Alam mo, nakakamiss din mag-aral. Alam mo yan, Naj, di ba? And I'm happy because you are able to produce something with your dad, and it's actually family bonding, di ba? And it's super nice to be able na nagiging successful si attorney with you because nakikita niya na, okay, nare-replicate.
At saka yung working arrangement namin dyan, of course, I'm the consultant and I always see an overview of what's doing.
Macro view.
That is very good in research. Very good in research yan. Kahit hindi lawyer yan, very good in research.
Hindi, tsaka si Naj, alam ko yun, very, remember ko ngayon. Yung thesis mo.
Wag na lang.
Okay. Pero doon ko siya nakilala, attorney. Doon ko siya nakilala. Ang galing niya. Sabi ko, out of the box, talaga naman.
And alam natin na alam natin na hindi available yung secondary source doon, yung secondary data, unlike other industries. But primary, you have to create your own, di ba?
Correct. Kaya doon ko nakilala si Naj. Yun yung tumatak talaga sa akin. Ang galing yung girl na to.
She will never stop until she reaches the goal. Come what may.
Tama. Which is actually a good, kasi may grit, di ba? Mahirap yan Mahirap ituro yan. Ito na, last. Dahil dyan meron tayong extra bonus para sa ating viewers and listeners. So, may case attorney. I hope you don't mind. Huwag mo ko singilan. Hindi, ito. Sabi niya, yung title nakapangalan sa lolo. Pero, the one living are the 3 children from 8. So, 3 na lang yung living. But they don't like to sell the property. Pero, balak na lang paghatian ng 6 families. Kasi ayaw makihati ng 2. Parang they just wanna give up or waive their right. Yan. So, anong pwedeng ipapirma sa 2 families para hindi maghabol? That's the first question.
First and foremost, I want to see the title is still in the name of the lolo, you are saying.
Oh, yes.
Of course, the first thing there is because when you are dividing a property or selling a property, you must be selling a property titled in your name.
Dapat.
So if it is not titled in your name, you don't have the right to sell the same. So the step-by-step process there is for it. Right now, at least it's good grace now because there is a tax amnesty, estate tax amnesty that is extended for the next 2 years. I would advise that while it is in the name of the lolo, the heir should initiate the filing of a estate tax amnesty and pay the 6% tax.
Yun. Ang tanong dyan, sinong magbabayad?
Somebody,
Diba?
somebody will have to pay.
Yes, para makuha nila, di ba? Kasi gusto nila yung property.
There is no way of them legally acquiring the property
Without payment.
While it is in the name of the lolo, because before you can divide the property, it must be a property in your name.
Oo.
Pwedeng
Tama.
mo.
Yeah.
And I think siguro yung...
First step yan is, ina-advise ko, mabuti nga na-extend yung tax amnesty.
Exactly.
Yes.
No, very recently lang na-extend siya.
Yun muna ang kailangan gawin dyan.
Okay. So is this, sabi niya, pag pumirma na yung natirang buhay sa dalawang families, hindi na magki-claim. So I think the idea here is, what will make them not habol the claim?
But you know,
they have to sign the waiver. Parang
yet at this point, I don't think that's possible for them to do because this is a real property. It's a real property. It must first be titled in the name before they can, because as it is now, still owned by the lolo. And they cannot divide something that is not theirs.
Oo. Parang oo nga, doon pa lang no?
Doon pa lang, naka-install ka na.
Pero
Pero Paps, di ba pwede yun na parang nirenounce nila yung ano nila pa?
Hindi na, kahit eventually, pero ang pinaka-bottom line dyan is the title in their name because kailangan mo
naka-annotate sa likod.
Yung lolo pa pala may title, patay na yung lolo, so kailangan mo na mabayaran yung estate tax.
Para mahati sa mga anak.
Kaya sinasabi ko, mas maganda nga ngayon may estate tax amnesty. Kasi kung walang estate tax amnesty ngayon, mangyari
ang mahal niyan.
Iko-compute ko BIR kung kailan namatay. Plus interest down doon.
Oh my gosh.
Yun muna ang persistent na gagawin niya. Before anything else, talking about dividing the property or whatever it go, yun munang title na yun at dapat mag-ayos yun.
So, yung susunod niyang mga questions, paano naman kayo makokontak? Yun na lang. Kasi syempre, di ba, parang doon tayo sa, yes, we can ask attorney that, pero syempre, the insights to be complete, it has to be seen by the mga documents.
I can be of help to them because I know I can advise them on what's the proper and the most prudent way to do it in a more economical way. Para regular, kasi real property yan, hindi naman basta parang impanate yan.
Maraming papeles yan, maraming pagdadaanan ng process. Okay, so guys, if you want to reach out Naj and Attorney Cabaneiro, Attorney Nic, feel free to message below or subscribe to this podcast. Also, I would like to encourage everyone to check out their books. It's actually also part of this post in our social media. So for those who will, eto na, because I actually advocate also what they are doing, I have books to give away. So for those who are interested, I would like you to follow and share this podcast to your friends, and I will raffle off names so that you can get those books for free. And that's from me. Yeah. Ngayon, if you have friends and you want, and you know, nakatulong ang books, feel free to contact Naj. Sino pwedeng kontakin kapag they would like to purchase it?
Yes. Yes. They can contact Miss Arlene Baguyo, no, at 0917-645-7846. Ulit. It's 0917-645-7846. Yeah. Currently, dun lang muna namin in-offer yung dalawang books namin.
Okay, that's good.
So, we're not offering our books in any bookstore, no? Because this is only
self-published.
Yeah,
self-published? Yeah. Okay. Actually, that's also good kasi nowadays, nobody goes to the mall. Diba?
Yes.
Or you can also, Amazon, if you like. Diba?
Pwede rin, pag marami na.
Para delivery.
Yes.
Not this time.
So, but that's, ang maganda doon, yung books nila, attorney, may sign ninyo, di ba?
Yes.
You will sign the books. Ayan, iba pa rin yung paperback. Tama pa. Iba pa rin yun kasi may sign and if you like to communicate to the person that Naj mentioned, just we will also put the numbers dun sa post namin on this podcast. Ayan. So anything that we can look forward for you guys? Is there any third book in the pipeline? Are there any plans?
Depending upon the progress in the laws, that there is now law, there are amendments to the laws, and taxation is a very dynamic subject. The moment there are changes in the tax environment, then we'll see what things we can write again.
Okay. And we'll look forward to that. Ayan, with that, thank you so much, Attorney Nic and Naj. I hope that this is not the last that I will, sana minsan mag-drop in pa din kayo. And I hope pag meron na kayong third book to launch, I can still interview you here at the Secured and Happy Lifestyle. With that, thank you so much and have a great day, BizMates.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.